Call this meeting of Smith County Emergency Services District 2 to order at 6 p.m. Note that there is a quorum present. All 5 commissioners are here. All notices have been posted and published. Before we have the prayer and the pledge, I would ask everybody to please silence your phones and your pagers, and if you have radios, keep them turned down to a level where it won't disturb the meeting. So at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Domney to lead us in the prayer and the pledge of allegiance to the United States and take the flag.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity together tonight, Lord. We cherish the opportunities that we have together. We most especially want to give praise to those and thanks to those that actually provide the services to us, not only to them, but to their families as well, Lord. We know the sacrifices they make day in and day out, Lord, to keep our community safe. We ask that you would be with us throughout this evening and guide us, lead us and guide us throughout our meeting tonight. Lord, and we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, recognition of guests and special presentations. Well, we've got Judge Neil Franklin with us tonight. Also, we have the president of the Noonday Board with us tonight. Tony Hernandez has just been promoted to, I think, Operations Director for EMS. He's here. You want to introduce your 2 people, Tony?
Yeah, Michael Pierce, Regional Director for Tyler Smith County, new one.
Right.
And then Amber Clemens, other Regional Director for Tyler Smith County.
Anybody on this? Trevor, I think you're the new president of the Firefighters Union?
Yes, sir.
Association?
Yes, sir.
Good. Congratulations. All right. Item number 4, public comment. We have anybody signed up for public comment?
Yes, we do.
Okay. How many do we have?
We have 2.
Okay.
First one is Trevor Smearl. So sorry. I was trying to get that right.
It's okay.
Trevor,
Hey,
you'll
it's
have,
been butchered a lot worse, I promise.
Trevor, you'll have 3 minutes to make the presentation.
Yes, sir. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Trevor Smurl. For those that didn't already know, I'm the local president for Smith County Professional Firefighter Association, Local 5300. On behalf of the membership, we felt that there was a few comments that needed to be made this evening. All right. First off, congratulations to Chief Greaser. All right. We look forward to working with you, sir. All right. The second one, we'd like to express our thoughts on the possible replacement of the executive administrator. We know that is a vacant position currently. It is an overwhelming opinion of Local 5300 that we don't replace that position and that we possibly use those funds in other needed areas of our district. Okay. Aside from that, I have no other comments. You'll have a great evening.
Okay. Thank you very much. Here's the second one.
And the second one is Matt Arnold.
Okay. Chief Arnold.
Yes, sir. I'm Chief at Art, and I'm also the liaison for the North District. After a conversation we had with the other day, me and Mel polled the chiefs in our districts, and we're going to pretty much mirror what they say. At least let's pump the brakes on hiring this executive administrator, and let's see how this team y'all got organized works together before we go out and spend that much money on an executive administrator. I think they deserve the chance to see how it works. I will have to comment that we did have 3 chiefs. 2 did not respond to our survey, and 1 was opposed to this. So it's not a consensus, but we'd just like to see y'all see how this team can get together and work. And then if we need to do that at a later date, give them 3 or 4 months, 6 months, and evaluate how things are going. But that's a lot of money to spend for 1 position. Thank you.
Thank you. No other public comment? Okay. We'll move on to item number 5, which is swearing in ceremony for our newly appointed fire chief, Chief Greaser. Judge Franklin?
Yes. All right, Lisa.
miss that?
I think that was gonna be here.
Here. Okay.
Right.
Is that, or is that?
No.
That's blocking. Hang on, we're gonna go. Here we go.
There we
All
go.
right. How many chiefs does it take, right? All right.
Just me, one.
Okay. All right. And I've got two, actually, oaths. We're gonna do.
Way to go, Wilson.
All right. We're gonna do both these oaths. If you'll place your left hand on the Bible, right hand up. I, Eric Greaser,
I, Eric Greaser,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
execute the duties of the office
execute the duties of the office
of Fire Chief
of Fire Chief
of the State of Texas
of the State of Texas
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right, one more time.
This one's a little longer.
Yeah, that's fine. I, Eric Greaser,
I, Eric Greaser,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that as your Fire Chief
that as your Fire Chief,
and member of Smith County Emergency Service District 2,
as a member of Smith County Emergency Service District 2,
my fundamental duty
my fundamental duty
is to serve the citizens
is to serve the citizens
of our communities
of our communities
as well as the members
as well as the members
of our department,
of our department,
to safeguard and preserve life
to safeguard and preserve life
and property
and property
against the elements
against the elements
of fire and disaster,
of fire and disaster,
to assure that emergency
to assure that emergency,
medicine and rescue
medicine, and rescue
are delivered to all who call.
are delivered to all who call.
I will support,
I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Texas,
the Constitution of the State of Texas,
and the laws and ordinances
and the laws and ordinances
of Smith County, Texas.
of Smith County, Texas.
I recognize the badge
I recognize the badge
as a symbol of public faith,
as a symbol of public faith,
and I accept it
and I accept it
as a public trust
as a public trust
to be held so long
to be held so long
as I am true
as I am true
to the ethics
to the ethics
of the fire service.
of the fire service.
As a member of Smith County Emergency Service District 2,
As a member of Smith County Emergency Service District 2,
I accept this self-imposed
I accept this self-imposed
and self-enforced
and self-enforced
obligation
obligation
as my solemn responsibility,
as my solemn responsibility.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
I'm gonna sign here and then I'll get out of your way.
I don't think you're in my way. I'm honored that you came.
All right, sir.
Judge Franklin, we just want to thank you for taking time.
Absolutely.
Busy day to do that for us.
Yeah,
We appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thank
Glad to
you
be
for all you
here.
do.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations again, Chief.
Thank you again.
Good to see you guys.
All right. All right, we'll move on now. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
You have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I absolutely do. First of all, to all the commissioners, I appreciate your faith and trust that you placed in me to lead this great organization. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to go and ride and visit and get to know many members of the organization, where their hearts are, where their servant hearts are to serve our community and our citizens. You probably read my email. It's all about service to our citizens. And the men and women of our district are here for the right reason and are doing great business every day. So I'm very proud of the analysis thus far in the first 2 weeks, trying to really explore the organization and figure out where we're at and try to create vision for where we go. And so thank you for your support and your faith and trust in me. I pledge to do a great job for you, as I've just sworn to do. Thank you.
Thank you. will be our consent agenda. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action related to the payment of accounts, bills, invoices, payroll, requests for reimbursement, requests for other payments, transfer of funds, and amendments. So under 6.1, payment of bills. If nobody has any questions, I would just like to take all three of those at once and have one motion cover them all if we could. If somebody has a particular question or discussion about something.
There was only a couple of things that I noted in here, and I spoke with Larry prior to the meeting, that there are some larger expenditures, one in particular, the roofing, for the admin building, for our remodel project, and then surrounds plumbing, but within the documentation, I'm pretty sure that they were pre-approved expenditures that are in excess of the $2,000 mark. They're not noted as such, and we're just going to need to make sure we do a better job at recording that in our documentation so that those pre-approvals are duly noted. And that'd be the only comment that I have to those items.
All right. Anybody else have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we pay our bills, which is item 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3.
So made.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Dominic, we pay all our bills under item 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3, which is contract payments and credit card payments also. So, I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right. Let's see, item 7. I'll get to it on one. Everything's covered up in here. Approval of the minutes of the special call meeting December 16th, 2022, Board of Commissioners meeting on December the 19th, 2022, special call board meeting on December the 30th of 2022, and special call meeting January 3rd, 2023.
I have reviewed the draft meeting minutes for each one of those and moved to approve each as submitted for, and I'm not going to read all 4 dates, but
Right.
all of them conclusive.
Have a motion by Commissioner Dominic, we approve the minutes of all the regular and special call meetings of Smith County ESD starting January 16th, 2022 and ending with the special call meeting of January 3rd, 2023. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item 8. As pursuant to section 775.037 of the Health and Safety Code, the commissioner shall elect from among their members a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and assistant treasurer to perform the duties usually required of the respective offices. The office of secretary and treasurer may be combined, and that's usually what we've done. So at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for president.
Okay, I'd make the nomination to Commissioner Brown for president of Smith County ESD2.
Okay, have a nomination for me to be president of the board again. Do I hear any other nominations? I'll second. Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If not, all those in favor of me remaining board president signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay. All right. Next, we'll move on to the position of vice president. And I would like to nominate Commissioner Wilson for that position. He has been the vice president before. I know he serves as our assistant treasurer now, but I think maybe with the 2 new members we got on here, we might need to do a little changing around. So I'll nominate Charles for the position of vice president.
I'll second.
Okay. Have a nomination of Charles Wilson for vice president, second by Commissioner Dominic. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of electing Charles Wilson as Vice President of the Board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President. Okay. All right, next will be the position of treasurer. And I'll make a nomination that we keep Mr. Downey in that position. He's done an outstanding job. Nobody watches our money any better than he does. I will certainly guarantee you that. And I appreciate that. And I have a second by Charles. Is there any other nominations for Secretary Treasurer? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of taking Brent Domney as Secretary Treasurer of the ESD Board 2, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And congratulations, Brent, you got it for another couple of years. All right, now we need to elect an assistant treasurer. By law, we need to have an assistant treasurer in case the treasurer is not available. So I'll open the floor for nominations for that position.
I'll nominate our new board member, Scotty Thornton, as assistant treasurer.
Okay, I have a nomination for Scotty Thornton to be the assistant treasurer for the board. I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Scotty Thornton being elected as Assistant Treasurer of Smith County ESD2, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And congratulations. Okay, that concludes the elections.
So for sake of clarity, Commissioner Dominic was elected to be the combined office of treasurer and secretary.
Yes, he was. All right, item 9, discuss and consider and take action on the appointment of an interim executive administrator. So, with the position open, we do need somebody for people to go to and to be able to bring stuff and them to be able to push it on up to the board level if necessary. So, I think right now, in my consideration, we should make Eric the interim executive administrator. It's not a permanent job, but I feel like he's done a good job so far. He's kind of kept the ship on a straight path, and I'll certainly say I've seen more stuff done in the last 2.5 weeks than I've seen done in the last 6 months. So anyway, that's just my thought. Does anybody else have any other thoughts or whatever?
I think the role of executive administrator is crucial to the organization's longevity, and I would support Eric continuing to operate as our interim executive administrator until such time the board makes a decision to do anything differently if so.
Okay. You want to put that in a formal motion?
I will. Make the motion that Eric Edstrom would fulfill the role of interim role of executive administrator until such time the board elects to pursue, I'm trying to think how I want to word telling them now, without closing the door on it, but it is a temporary job. So it's just interim executive administrator for a period of next 60 days.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Domney that we appoint Eric Edstrom as interim executive administrator, not to exceed 60 days, until the board can decide which direction we're going to go and decide we're going to refill the executive administrator spot. I have a second. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? Brad, you and Scotty have anything you'd like to say?
No.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of appointing Eric as interim executive administrator signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay, and that motion carries. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
Just so we'll know, we'll keep stuff straight We'll call you Eric, we'll call you Chief, how about that? That'd be all right? All right. That'll work. All right, item 10, interim executive administrator report.
I have prepared a one page. I'm not gonna repeat everything in there, but I'm gonna highlight a few things.
Okay.
The first, we have formed a leadership team, which consists of myself, the Chief of Operations, Eric Greaser, the Support Services Director, Larry Lockie, and the HR Director, Sherry Hernandez. And the leadership team has identified about a dozen crucial items and issues that need urgent attention, and as well as another dozen items that are not so urgent, but they still need close attention, and we follow those up with bi-weekly morning meetings to discuss them and see what the best course of action is. We're working on developing a framework for the BFD contract renegotiation, and we've spoken with the liaisons, and we have a plan how we're going to move forward and come up with a framework amongst ourselves first before we bring it to the board. Assistant Chief Smith has taken the lead in preparing 4 board resolutions, which are a separate agenda item in this meeting in regards to the proposals by the Texas Municipal League that the board may want to consider to oppose. Similarly, the safety conference is coming up, and if somebody that has planned on attending have not received an email from Assistant Chief Smith, then you probably should contact him, because we have all the hotel reservations and so forth already arranged. So those are the main points I just wanted to highlight, and I'll just offer up if there are any questions.
This maybe the ones on the board that are going here, if somebody could fill out and get the per diem and the stuff for meals and stuff like that going. And that way it'll be done right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Item 11, financial reports.
Okay. Again, there is a written report attached. I will highlight a few things. That was financial reports. Okay.
Yeah.
I basically don't have much to say about the numbers, except that we still need to keep an eye on the overtime expense. There are plans in place to mitigate that. We have taken some action by converting 4 of the daytime staff to 3 4896 staff, which will help to mitigate and reduce the overtime. And I still think we just need to keep an eye on it. Finance staff have signed up on the bank account reconciliation module. We're up and running with that now fairly proficiently. The next is going to be the budget and planning module, which is a big task, because if we don't learn how to do that, we're not going to be able to budget for next year. So all the staff has been identified that needs to pay attention to this, so we need to train ourselves over the next 2-3 months. You have the quarterly report under a separate agenda item as far as the Fidelity Investment Reserve accounts. And you have the proposal as far as appointing a investment advisor for the board with the amount of money that we have invested.
So we need to stay with the agenda items. So
Yeah.
11, financial report.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else there that we could leave.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So is that all you have there?
that's all I have.
Okay. And then finance director report?
I'll just continue what I just.
Okay. I figured that's where it fell.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have the quarterly report for the investment account under a separate agenda item, and the same with the proposal for selecting an advisor. We are We have successfully added the 2 new commissioners to the signature card for the Vera Bank and removed the commissioners that left us. And today I received the endorsement from VFIS as far as the increase in the crime policy amounts. So that is in place as of today. And it was a good thing because in the endorsement they specifically say, they call it a crime policy bond in the writing. So with a bit of hope, Judge Franklin will be willing to accept that in lieu of the traditional bond paper.
So we just need to get with him and have that put on their.
Yes, sir.
agenda. If the board wants me to, I'll be happy to talk to him about that.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
All right. All right, item 13, investment portfolio report for Smith County ESD2 covering the physical quarter ending December 31st, 2022 for board information review only, no action required.
Yeah, do you want to address this, Commissioner Dominic?
Oh, let me see, yes. I have to remember what it was right here. So each quarter, I got here. So each quarter, myself and our financial director would go through and both of us independently verify the funds within our accounts. And that action has been taken. The market value as of 12/31/2022, which is the close number last quarter, is $17,183,167.42, broken in between two different accounts, or multiple different accounts. But the purpose of this is just to report to not only the board but everybody else where we stand, and that we have actually gone through and signed our documentation that clearly indicates that we have independently verified those things. And it's just a check and balance is essentially what it amounts to. So there is no action to that. Item is just for information.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Donovan. Item 14, discuss, consider, and take action on Smith County ESD2's investment officer's proposal on selecting an investment advisor. You gonna take care of that here?
Sure. I apologize for the length of this proposal, but we thought it was important to provide a good basis for why we have recommended that we select UBS Financial Services Inc. as our ongoing investment advisor. And my personal belief is that on all of the criteria that we have evaluated, they are pretty much superior. I mean, I think we would get a world-class institution to do the investment advisory function for us. Vastly exceeding anything I could ever do. And for a continuity reason, I think it's important that we have somebody outside of the staff level doing this. So if something were to happen to me or something were to happen to Commissioner Dominic, you still would have the professional in place with the 20 highly qualified professionals that could help you.
Yeah, this goes way outside of my capabilities. Okay.
I know y'all looked at it real good, and that's what you recommend.
Yes.
Well, I'll make the motion that we would appoint UBS Financial Services as the Smith County ESD2's investment advisor, as recommended in the attached document, and authorize the board treasurer to sign all related documentation. Okay, have a second by Commissioner Thornton. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. All right, item 15, Director of Human Resources report, Ms. Sherry.
right, I submitted you my report. There was one thing that I did want to point out on it, and that was the Texas Mutual Compensation Audit. When I did this up, it was just preliminary, but today I actually got the final. And I did have the findings if you all wanted to review that. I could pass that out. Are you interested in looking at that? Okay, you can pass that to me. It was determined that we will owe $1,850 on this one. They will be sending an invoice out for the final workers' comp audit.
So we owe them an additional $1,800 for workers' comp.
Yes, $1,850, yes.
Is that for everybody?
Yes,
Career and
that's
volunteer?
career and volunteer,
Okay.
yes. And then unless you had any other questions, I wasn't gonna go over each one unless you wish me to.
We've got everything in place for 457, all the signatures and everything? Is that
Yes,
right?
yes, and we have a meeting on that on the 27th.
Friday.
Yeah. Okay. All right, the next thing is the safety report, which I supplied. The fourth, and the fifth are under investigation right now. The second one, has been corrected, and then Larry has the third incident that, he is working on for logistics.
First, I want to say, I appreciate everybody that submitted those. We've gone several months without any feedback, and we all know that we have opportunities to improve. But this is just exactly what it is. It's opportunities to improve. The intent's never been to point a finger at anybody for wrongdoing. It's to actually recognize where we can improve our process, procedures, or whatever it may be. So thanks everybody for this submittal that we have. And give me just a moment. I'm trying to get over to it real quick. Because I didn't print that one out.
Which ones did you say have been resolved here?
The first one,
Uh-huh.
and, oh no, I'm sorry, the second one has been resolved. The first,
report in front of you. Once again, I'm not going to go over it unless y'all have any questions outside of the general announcements. The logistics warehouse remodel and outfitting is complete at this time. That came in on budget and about 15, 20 days ahead of schedule. So we were really glad to get the use of that building. IT has moved over into that building as well. So guys, if y'all are coming up there, we're no longer in building 2, we're in that third building. And I would like to introduce our new logistics manager, who is full-time, been with us about 2 weeks now. Jim, you want to stand up and introduce yourself to everybody?
Good evening, my name is Tim Stosky. I'm the new logistics manager here, and 26 years military logistics, and wife and son who live in Boulder. Feel free to stop by and see the warehouse and let me know what you need. Thank you.
It's going to take Tim some time to get his head wrapped around this organization, and we've got a lot of changes to do to procedures that we're following. So bear with us for a little bit more in logistics as we continue to work to improve those processes. I'll remind everybody to use the logistics portal for logistical needs and the facilities portal for facility needs. Other than that, commissioners, do you have any questions for me?
Remodel looks good, I think. Everybody worked on it, I think.
Yeah, we actually had some operations personnel step into place to assist us with that. So I'd like to thank Lieutenant Gerald for coming in and running the dozer for us and doing some of that grading. Did a great job for us. So I really appreciate that.
Can I just say too that the speed at which this has been done has been incredible.
Light speed, huh?
I've never seen anything like it before in terms of speed.
All right. Item 17, Chief's report. Chief Breezer.
All right, thank you. as I spoke a moment ago, it's the time to analyze the organization and spend time with the crews. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been able to attend a meet and greet with the volunteer chiefs and gain some perspective and some camaraderie. We enjoyed that time together. We had a great meal and exchanged lots of ideas. So I was thankful for that opportunity within the organization. We also attended a long-range planning meeting that we held at the Flint station the other night, and continued to look at our plans for everything from staffing to apparatus, in addition to fire stations, and kind of the term, the battle rhythm of how to go about that, and what an organization can sustain in terms of growth. Having done that in previous life, and allowing an organization to develop members from within in hopes that we can promote from within, and really have time for members of the organization to develop and be prepared for next grade kind of promotions. I'm excited about as we analyze the organization and look at that. Attended various meetings throughout the community, throughout the county, this over the last couple of weeks, including with the county judge. I appreciate him coming tonight and the honors that entailed. So I'm very appreciative that you allowed us to do that tonight. Looking forward, my intention is to swear in members of the organization, as we often term that we're sworn members, and oftentimes we may not actually have that sworn document or actually have done that. We just consider that. But as you listen to the words of the oath and the importance that are behind those, as you really raise your right hand and swear to do the job, swear to protect our citizens and serve our communities. And I think it's an important element, and we'll look at how to implement that. This upcoming Thursday, I'm meeting with all the chief officers of the paid staff. We'll take that opportunity and start working in that regard right there. In plans to kind of unveil that and roll that out moving forward. So the words of that oath are very important and dear to my heart. And so I appreciate it again for you allowing us to do that tonight. You know, as you've looked at our report, you know, staffing is a huge component of what this organization does, and it's certainly the overriding cost of providing paid staff to an organization. We've looked at overtime cost, and we've looked at the new hires coming on, and 15 new firefighters coming online by the end of the month. We begin the orientation phase of that. Before you tonight, you'll look at some of the protective clothing that goes alongside the side of that in a future motion. We'll spend time to do orientation with those members, trying to make sure that they understand the culture of the organization, they understand some of the new vision of the organization, and some safety parameters that we're going to put in place. So I'm excited about the opportunity to sit with our newest members. I consider them, you know, some of our most valued members. They're the ones walking in the door and have the potential to be here the longest, and make long-term impacts on the organization. So we're excited about that. As I look at the staffing numbers of the organization and how often we're mandatoring our paid firefighters to stay on a shift that's not theirs. So that in previous life, I've experienced that. You know that is not sustainable long-term. So we got to look at, in terms of our minimum staffing numbers and how many firefighters we have on the calendar or on the shift to provide relief for those to take off on both scheduled and unscheduled leave without creating that mandatory status. And there's an appetite that all firefighters have for some overtime, but just like a good meal, you know, after you're full, you're full, and it's oftentimes becomes almost repulsive to have to miss another birthday or another event of the family. So we want to be very cognizant as we move forward as an organization that before we go a lot further in terms of staffing, that we focus and make sure that we understand the numbers of relief factors. So One of the things I'm working with Sherry to do is to understand in a historical format, how many shifts off we had in unscheduled leave last year, the last 12 months. And then we're calculating the liabilities against the shift of those that schedule off vacation and holiday, so that we can come up with an actual number that we should have above and beyond what the minimum staffing number is. So we're working on that diligently. Quite a bit of work to assemble all that. We'll have that shortly, and we'll be able to forecast how many additional firefighters we need per shift above and beyond what minimum staffing looks like. We've also, in your packet, you'll see that we've worked to provide some firefighter safety initiatives where an experienced firefighter will cover the day shift, and we'll hire the 4896 position that will be a new member. And new members oftentimes come to us with little or no experience. And so the last thing that we want them to do is be in a district that, one, they're unfamiliar with, or two, driving an apparatus that they're unprepared to drive. So we want to be very cognizant of the safety elements that go alongside of that. So I invoke your support on those measures as we've moved forward with that. Additionally, there's some things that we've done in terms of purchases that are on, and those are in your packet. I know we've got some compressors that desperately need to be delivered, and try to make sure that we have air resources throughout the district. You'll also note in the packet I'm reporting it as well on our training reports and the training initiatives. I've been able to attend some of those trainings since I've been here over the last few weeks. I've been able to attend some of the hands-on hot drills and observe how we're going about that. And so there's a great deal of work that's occurring day in and day out of the training office. And I'll continue to inspire that and direct that so that we train the members of this organization, both paid and volunteer, to do the business that we're sworn to do. Any other questions that you might have of me? I remain available at your request for any questions. Thank you.
All right. Item 18, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the adoption of 4 resolutions to express opposition to efforts by the Texas Municipal League to restrict emergency services districts' ability to protect lives and properties. Resolution 2023-00 expresses opposition to the proposal of legislation requiring municipal consent for an ESD to annex into a city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Resolution 2023-01 expresses opposition to proposed legislation to allow a city council to vote to remove the city from an ESD if the city is capable of providing services to the area without the consent of the voters. Resolution 2023-02 expresses opposition to proposed legislation to require an ESD to enter into a sales and use tax sharing agreement with a city when the city annexes territory located in an ESD, and should negotiations fail, enter into binding arbitration and or mediation. And Resolution 2023-03 expresses opposition to the proposed legislation to restrict an ESD's ability to hire legislative representation, join an association, or reimburse for expenses related to legislative appearances. So, by law, we have to read the resolutions as they are written, and then we'll have to vote. I would just say we vote on all 4 if we want to do it, or we can vote, or do we need to do one at a time, Mike?
As long as you note all 4 included, you're fine.
Okay. And I would also ask, if we do that President will be given permission to sign the documentation as needed. And I believe the Secretary has to sign also. So. All right, so here we go. Resolution 2023-00. A resolution to express opposition to proposed legislation requiring municipal consent for an ESD to annex into a city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Whereas Smith County Emergency Services District 2 is the grassroots government responsible for providing emergency services to over 100,000 citizens in Smith County, and whereas voters created emergency services districts, ESDs, in Texas to provide reliable funding for the protection of lives and property, and whereas emergency services districts are political subdivisions of the state of Texas with rights and responsibilities equal to or greater than those of municipalities, and whereas emergency services districts are regulated by state law, including Chapter 775 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, and whereas a vocal minority representing smaller cities in the state has prevailed upon a statewide organization to attack emergency services districts' ability to protect lives and property, and whereas the statewide organization purportedly representing municipalities seeks passage of legislation to require consent of a municipality before an emergency services district may extend the protection it provides within a municipality's extraterritorial jurisdiction, and whereas under current law, residents in an area not served by a municipality may petition the emergency services district to extend the protection it provides if approved by voters in a duly called election on a uniform election date. Whereas the decision of emergency services district extension resides ultimately with voters in both the existing emergency services district and in the area for addition to the emergency services district. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Smith County Emergency Services District 2 that the Board of Commissioners opposes vigorously legislation that would require municipal consent for extension of an emergency services district's protection into the municipality's extraterritorial jurisdiction, as such action could thwart the will of the voters and leave lives and property at risk. Be it further resolved, the Board of Commissioners instructs its president to communicate the text of this resolution to elected officials at the state and county level with the highest urgency. A copy of this resolution is ordered to be attached to the official minutes of this meeting, January 23rd, 2023, and after that is the vote. That's that resolution. Resolution 2023-01. A resolution to express opposition to proposed legislation allowing cities to unilaterally withdraw from an ESD. Whereas Smith County Emergency Services District 2 is a grassroots government responsible for providing emergency service to over 100,000 citizens in Smith County, and whereas voters created Emergency Services District ESDs in Texas provide reliable funding for the protection of lives and property, and whereas emergency services districts are political subdivisions of the state of Texas with rights and responsibilities equal to or greater than those of municipalities, and whereas emergency service districts are regulated by state law, including Chapter 775 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, and whereas a vocal minority representing smaller cities in the state has prevailed upon a statewide organization to attack emergency services districts' ability to protect lives and property, and whereas a statewide organization purportedly representing municipalities seek passage of legislation to allow municipalities currently included in the emergency services district to withdraw from district's jurisdiction without a vote by the citizens of the district, and whereas withdrawal of the municipality's tax base from an emergency services district on the whim of a majority of a city council would wreak havoc on reliable funding for the protection of lives and property. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Smith County Emergency Services District 2 that the Board of Commissioners opposes vigorously legislation that will allow the municipality to withdraw unilaterally from the Emergency Services District's jurisdiction and threaten the lives and property of the district's citizens by withholding vital resources. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners instructs its president to communicate the text of this resolution to elected officials at the state and county level with the highest urgency. A copy of this resolution is ordered to be attached to the official minutes of this meeting, January 23rd, 2023. That's number 2. Well, the language is the same, but it's different deals. Resolution 2023-02. A resolution to express opposition to proposed legislation requiring an ESD to enter into a sales tax sharing agreement when the city annexes into its territory. Whereas Smith County Emergency Services District 2 is the grassroots government responsible for providing emergency services to over 100,000 citizens in Smith County, and whereas voters created emergency services districts and Texas ESDs in Texas to provide reliable funding for the protection of lives and property. And whereas emergency services districts are political subdivisions of the state of Texas with rights and responsibilities equal to or greater than those of municipalities, and whereas emergency services districts are regulated by state law, including Chapter 775 of the State of Texas Health and Safety Code, and whereas a local minority representing smaller cities in the state has prevailed upon a statewide organization to attack emergency services districts' ability to protect lives and property, and whereas a statewide organization purportedly representing municipalities seeks passage of legislation that provides when a municipality uses its vast power of annexation to expand into an emergency services district where voters have approved a sales and use tax, the municipality and the district shall be required to enter into a sales and use tax sharing agreement. And whereas the voters of emergency services district approve the district's collection of the sales tax and use tax for the purposes of fire protection or emergency medical response or both, and whereas in any sharing agreement, there may or may not be any requirement that the municipality provide fire protection or emergency medical services, and the emergency services district may be required to continue providing this service in the annexed area. Whereas under current law, emergency services districts and municipalities have authority to, but are not required to, enter into sales and use tax sharing agreements that can be administered by the Comptroller of Public Accounts. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Smith County Emergency Services District 2 that the Board of Commissioners opposes vigorously legislation that would require a sales and use tax sharing agreement when a municipality annexes its territory included in an emergency services district. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners instructs its president to communicate the text of this resolution to elected officials at the state and county level with the highest urgency. A copy of this resolution is ordered to be attached to the official minutes of this meeting, January 23rd, 2023. One more, guys, hopefully. Resolution 2023-03, a resolution to express opposition to proposed legislation restricting an ESD's ability to hire legislative representation, join an association, or reimburse for expenses related to legislative representation. Whereas Smith County Emergency Services District 2 is a grassroots government responsible for providing emergency service to over 100,000 citizens in Smith County, and whereas voters created Emergency Services District ESDs in Texas to provide reliable funding for the protection of lives and property, and whereas Emergency Services Districts are political subdivisions of the state of Texas, and whereas emergency services districts are regulated by state law, including Chapter 775 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, and district officials have a unique perspective on how state law affects the delivery of fire protection and emergency medical services to 10 million Texans. Whereas certain legislative proposals would prohibit the use of emergency services district funds to retain experts, consultants, and lobbyists to influence legislation, to pay dues to associations that influence legislation, and to reimburse district officials for influencing legislation. And whereas any legislation that would prohibit the use of emergency services district funds would effectively silence the voice of local officials to prevent effective communication and representation of their citizens and taxpayers. And whereas emergency services district officials require the ability to collectively develop and express their positions and information through associations, and whereas some smaller emergency services districts especially need to be able to combine their resources to efficiently and effectively present their unique issues to state officials, and whereas requiring emergency services district officials to expend personal resources to present the views of their citizens would impose an extreme hardship upon these public servants, and whereas such prohibition would strive for the basic tenets of democracy and open government. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Smith County Emergency Services District 2 that the Board of Commissioners opposes vigorously legislation that limit the ability of emergency services districts or their representatives to communicate with state officials. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners instructs its president to communicate the text of this resolution to elected officials at the state and county level with the highest urgency. A copy of this resolution is ordered to be attached to the official minutes of this meeting, January 23rd, 2023. So, what this states is if the city wanted to annex into our territory, you know, or if we went in, or say a city annex, they want to take our territory, we'd have to enter into a tax sharing deal with them, or they could just cut us out completely. So and when it does that, then that takes money away from us to be able to provide the services we would need. Also, if the city just wanted to unilaterally pull out, they can, but there's certain things in 775 they have to go by, but all that does is weaken the district, you know, and just remind everybody the district was formed by everybody to be able to have what we have. So,
I would let the resolution stand as read, and I would make the motion that we adopt all four resolutions to express our opposition to the efforts of the Texas Municipal League to restrict emergency service district's ability to protect lives and properties, authorizing the Smith County ESD Board President to communicate the resolution to the elected officials, both state and local level.
a motion by Commissioner Dominey to approve all four resolutions as presented, and, for the board president to present them to the state and county officials after they're approved. Do I have a second? I have a second by Scotty Thornton. Now, since we're doing that, on this, we will have to take a roll call vote. Commissioner Dominey?
Yay.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yay.
Commissioner Thornton?
Yeah.
Commissioner Everett?
Yeah.
And I also vote aye, so it's a majority, and the resolutions are passed. All right, we got past that one. All right. Item 19, discuss, consider, and taking action on fire chief presenting and discussing issues with the board for future action. Okay, Chief Arnold, you're up.
Okay. In ARP, had a pretty busy month. Everything seems to be going okay. And before Mr. Domney asked, yes, we did have one guy rejoin. So I knew he would be back, so I'd never actually turned his equipment in. So I just kept it in my office. I knew he was going to come back after he settled his little difficulty, and I just handed it back to him. No harm, no foul, in my opinion. Larry may disagree. But everything's working pretty good down there. From the retirement board, the program y'all have approved, we did have a meeting. Gene's the only other one I see here right now. Oh, Dale's here too. We did have a meeting the other night, and I'll let them expand on it a little bit more, but we're trying to get that organized so we can get y'all some information as quickly as possible. Now, going back as my liaison, I have talked to everybody. We haven't had a whole lot of issues, some minor issues that we've been able to resolve by pushing them up through JD. He was able to tell me why things were done the way they were. They were good good reasons why things were done the way they were done. Just everything seems to be okay with that. Clarification on some of the stuff that I was saying earlier. I think Eric has done a great job. Chief has done a great job. We just really would like to see what happens as they continue working together for the next few months before y'all fill that position. That could be a great savings to the district, and maybe add some staff underneath them to support them to reinforce their roles rather than putting somebody over them. Now, how we do that on the top end, we can all sit down and talk, but I think they're doing a great job. You've got a great staff assembled. training, logistics, HR. Let's see how this works before we go jumping off into another big salary. That's just our opinion.
Anybody here from the board?
No, he sent me a message. Their Humvee is now with paint, and TFS performed an audit on it today to make sure it's moving along. But other than that, he said he didn't have anything of concern.
Chapel Hill, Peterson.
Showing that we've been busy quite a bit here, like we do all the time. I don't have anything really on reports stuff. We're just working because we're getting double reports, so it takes a lot to try to get rid of some of my reports. That's why you might see some of these reports are showing two. But we're working through that, trying to see if we can get that to work out better. Other than that, I've got one guy I got to do his background check. She said I'm keeping track of him real well. I got another one that has to go over to IT to get himself signed in. And I also got one more I got to contact myself and make sure to see if he's going to get his background going as well. So I got 3 more trying to come on. I say I'm signed up to go to the safety conference, so I'll be going to that as well as I got another firefighter going with me as well from my department. So there'll be 2 of us going. On top of that, we're working on the retirement for the volunteers. So we had our first meeting, so we're just trying to get the stuff lined up to get that thing going pretty good for us. And then at the end, we got next month is for Chapel Hill. We always have our chili supper. So it's February the 25th, if anybody's interested in trying to come out to Chapel Hill. It's going to be at the high school cafeteria is where it's going to be. It's our biggest event we have for us to donate money. Any other questions?
Got any people joining up though?
Yeah, we got 3 of them trying, younger kids, some young kids.
Okay. All right. Anybody from Dixie? Recreation.
No issues to really report. We've got 2 members that, or not members, 2 applicants who are trying to go through the background investigation process. We're having some technical issues with it. I don't know what's going on there. They're not receiving the emails. And we had another person drop off an application the other day that they haven't gone through our process yet. So other than that, I don't really have anything to report. Any questions? Okay.
Can you let me know who those are?
Yeah.
Jackson Heights, Chief Thompson.
Good afternoon. We don't have anything new to report. We're just rocking and rolling there in Jackson Heights. I do have an application to turn in, so I do have just one, Mr. Dubney, to turn in right now. Yeah. Have any questions for me?
Chief Harper.
Just a couple things. We did receive a $5,000 wellness grant, so we're in the process right now of seeing what our needs are. That's basically going to be for fitness equipment or wellness activities, so we're looking at that. We just received that last week. Noon Day is also involved in a address numbering fundraiser. We put it out on our Facebook page, and we've got good response. Basically, we're going out and putting the green reflective addresses for folks that on their mailboxes or whatever, so we can identify that address a lot better. We've had a good support. We've actually had another department reach out to us and see if we were okay with them doing that as well, and absolutely. As far as the South liaison, I don't have that I'm aware of. We haven't had any issues. Myself and Board President Mark Bartlett are registered for the safety conference, so we'll be going to that. And currently we have 17 members on our roster. We've got 2 applications that are in the process right now. For the year of 2022, just a couple highlights. We ran 1,093 calls. 454 of those were medical calls, so it keeps us pretty busy. 52 calls were mutual aid, other, could have been power lines or miscellaneous calls. We had 54 mutual aid structure fires that we went outside of Noonday for. In the city of Noonday or district, we had 137 MVAs, and then a total of 21 structure fires. So been pretty busy. Any questions?
I know that you said that your address number is put on the Facebook page. Have y'all reached out to like homeowner associations or anything?
Not yet. That's in the work. The Facebook deal kind of went quicker than we thought, so we're trying to get caught up on that. But yes, we will be reaching out to the HOAs as well.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
You want to hear from Rich Frank? They have a new TV, so you know. And I know Troop's not here tonight. Chief Marler called me earlier today, said he wasn't able to having he's got some kind of issue with some personnel in his department that he better take care of tonight. So I told him that would be fine. White House, Chief Champion.
Down at White House in the last month, and hadn't had any new applicants come out. We've had a couple that's inquired about coming, but we hadn't seen them yet. We got one that's been talking to us about wanting to come over from us from Bullard. We're working with issues with him at the present time, and that's about it. Other than that, I think everything's running all right. They're still working on getting our rooms ready for 48-hour staffing. I think just got the paint in to do the second coat of paint down there. Get that ready. They get that up and going. Looking forward to that, ready for that to happen. I think it'd be a big plus to have it happen for us.
So they're going to have to be flat rolling around up there in the attic space if we're doing
For those that don't know what he's talking about, we've got a course upstairs at our station. At times it can get fairly noisy down there going around. You think they're coming down on top of us. But it's really a good thing. Everybody really, they have built a course over on the north side at Red Springs to handle all the north side stations. On the south side, our station has it. Really an awesome course. From what we've been told from everybody that's done both courses, they really like the one they've got at our station. A whole lot better than what the Red Springs station's got. It's been awesome. It's been working good. Our guys on our meeting nights, we've been wearing it out because the guys are loving it and enjoying it. But it's a good thing, if you get a chance to come by and see it, we'll show it to you. It's really a good course and good thing, and really help these guys on issues, and things that they can run it. The guys that built it, including Larry and our group, it's really got, I don't think we left anything out that you can't imagine that you might run into on a structure fire going around in there. It's really an awesome thing. Anything else? Thank you.
Anybody here from Wyoming? Item 20. Operations funding request. 20.1, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the purchase of PPE in the amount of $72,815.06. Who is going to speak on that?
I will.
Okay, go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I believe there's 16 sets that are included in there. One of those sets would be for myself, as well as the 15 firefighters coming on board. And it's pretty routine, essential PPE kind of purchase. So,
So do you know how many we have budgeted for the year?
I'll need help with that question.
30. Okay. So, and all I did, I just sat and looked at the cost of 4283, average cost 4283 per set. And I was just checking to make sure that we weren't overcommitting what we budgeted for the year. At that price, you can actually buy 39. So a little bit under budget. So that's good. That's all my questions. So just FYI, what I try to, they call me the money man. It's not.
Watch it tracking throughout the budget cycle.
Yes, to make sure we just don't overcommit to it. Yeah. So if you can help me with those, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
So I'll make the motion that we would approve the purchase of PPE in the amount of $72,815.06.
Have a motion by Commissioner Donahue that we purchase the PPE in the amount of $72,815.06. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other discussion or question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, 20.2, discuss and consider taking action on the purchase of Paratech stabilization equipment and DeWalt battery powered equipment for Flint Gresham Ladder 2, Ridge Springs Rescue 1, Jackson Heights Engine 1 and Dixie Engine 2 at a price not to exceed $55,000. Chief Greaser, I guess it'll be you.
Yes, sir.
Again.
Yeah, having bought similar equipment in previous life and the types of equipment that they've requested to enhance the organization. Some of the stabilization equipment exceeds the current capabilities of some of our aging equipment that is limited by some of its weight ratings. And so basically, if you look at kind of the strategic placement of the equipment, so that we're able to handle things, for example, like a heavy piece of equipment that needs to be stabilized with those type of struts, a vehicle exceeding the weights that we currently are unable to take on with heavy equipment or heavy machinery or heavy vehicles. In addition, the battery equipment has been well proven throughout the industry at this point. I was, for example, a naysayer years ago on the battery equipment, and whether or not some of the serviceability was there. It's well proven in the industry at this point, and I fully support the decision that was presented to me, the proposal that was presented to me that is before you tonight. So I feel like the equipment is essential equipment for us to provide for our citizens that need rescue.
Mr. Dominic, before you ask about budgetary, this was one of the items that we had, this is several items that was under Kelsey's request that we decided to wrap into an allowance. So these were specifically named out and then they were collapsed into the allowance.
So we have $187,386 that we set aside as the allowance.
That's the remaining stuff. That's the remaining budget.
After this purchase, that would be the remaining balance?
No, sir. That's the remaining budget as of now.
Okay.
So it'd be like $132,000 left after this purchase?
Yes, sir.
So the other thing that I was going to ask for help with is that looking through the information, I mean, I can see that we want to buy a highway kit, interstate kit, and Sporter X2 for Metro apparatus for $37,000. And just make it short, we've got 3 different purchases,
Okay.
multiple different quotes. We're not accepting any single quote. So I'm trying to go through and build up, okay, where we're buying what from, and how much are we committed to each one of them. And it would be a lot easier, and I'll use
Separate that out.
bid tabs that says that this is what all we got quoted, this is what we're selecting from there, this is what we purchased from each one of them, and the value for each one of them. Then it makes it, for me, it makes it a lot easier to have a record of what we approved. It's just not clear in the documentation that we have exactly what we're committing to do.
Okay.
Which also makes it easier when it comes time for approving the payment of the purchase If we already have a clear understanding of what we're committing to somebody, then it makes that approval process much simpler as well.
Point well taken.
I'll tack on with that with you too, make it a lot easier to know exactly what you're buying, from who and how much. I was looking to say that, because I call every day and ask him some of the similar questions.
Yeah, some of them have, freight quoted, some of them don't have freight quoted. And so we're doing a value without freight. It's just, I said, to me, it could have been a lot clearer request. So the request right now is a not to exceed $55,000 for the purchase, and I'm not gonna read through all those, of which $51,115.40 is actual cost. The nominal $4,000 is anticipated freight.
It's your pleasure, gentlemen.
Well, I'll try to muddle through this motion, and y'all correct me if I'm mistaken, okay?
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we would approve the funding not to exceed $55,000 to purchase the related, I'm sorry, let me start over. Make the motion that we would approve the not to exceed $55,000 for the purchase of Paratech equipment, which is inclusive of highway kit and interstate kit, the Supporter X2 from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialties at the cost of $37,440. 2 super vac fans from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialists at the cost of $10,000. 2 DeWalt saws, 2 DeWalt blower kits, 2 DeWalt tripod lights, 2 DeWalt bank chargers from Siddons Martin Emergency Group at a cost of $3,675.40 for a total of $51,115.40. The balance of the not to exceed is to cover any related shipping costs. So whoever's going to second that's got to read it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Donovan to approve it as to what he said, because I'm not going to try to repeat all that. It should be into the record.
Yeah.
Do I have a second? A second. I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And that motion carries. All right. All right, item 21, closed session. The board will convene in closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. No action shall be taken while the board is in closed session. Identified and action, final decision, final vote shall be taken in the board. Reconvening open session. 21, deliberation.
Hey, y'all keep it down so we can close down, please.
Commissioners and employees, Government Code 551.074, deliberation regarding real property, Government Code 551.072, and consult with attorney and receive legal advice concerning contemplated legal matter or settlement offer, Government Code 551.071, and we are in closed session at 7:18. All right, I call the open session back to order at 8:04 p.m. Item 23 is discuss and consider taking as necessary action on personnel matters. There's nothing to be discussed there, no action to be taken. Item 24, none of the board members have any remarks to be made, so at this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, have a second? Second by Commissioner Edwards. We are adjourned at 8:05 p.m.